Serving the mix. So this is a little bit more kind of practical, down to earth, a little more technical guitar stuff. And I'll start out with one really super important non-technical thing. Serving the mix. The first thing I wrote down, front of house is family. Broadcast is family. Buy someone a coffee, ask a question, invite feedback, and share your goals. So for us, like production and worship team with Red Rocks Worship, whether we're on the road, whether we're doing a broadcast service, whether it's just third service of the day, everyone's been here since 5 a.m. It's like we are doing like our weekend experience together. Our camera ops are just as much a member of the band as anyone on the front line, So try to do your best, no matter what your instrument is, guitar, to like, specifically with guitar, to open that door to front of house and to invite feedback and to ask like, hey, like how did my tone on this song sound today? Try to create that kind of culture and that honestly, it's just a personal heart thing, right? Where it's like, if somebody comes to me and says, hey, I think you could sound like, this or whatever, or our broadcast guy, Jesse, hops over the talk back from a different room in the church and says, hey, guitars, check tuning, or on this song, or, I'm not taking that as a personal offense, right? Because we have that relationship built. I think it's really easy to kind of create this production worship mindset, but I just put front of house is family, production is family. Kind of along with that, when I roll into a place, I get the opportunity to travel a lot with the team or do different things with different artists. And, I wrote down, do your best to have people do the minimum amount of work for you. So for me, it's like part of my setup is like, hey, what would I need on like an input sheet or a writer or something like that. And it's like, I need 2 XLRs and I need a power cable. And you can trust that when I plug in my XLRs and I plug in my power, like what's gonna be on my faders is gonna be really good and consistent. And that's just a personal level of like ownership. Obviously you don't want your identity to become the thing you do in your instrument. Who we are is not what we do, but there is a healthy level of like taking that ownership of, hey, when I show up, my keys sound this way. When I show up, my tones sound this way. It's part of how I'm serving the house, What I don't want to have to do when I show up and plug in my 2 lines of my power, front of house is probably going to high pass my guitar signal, to 80, 100, 120 anyway. I want to do what I can on my side to not, I don't want to have something that really needs to be EQ'd. Like I want to create a tone and create this kind of stuff where, you can basically just leave my EQ flat, I'm kind of creating stuff on my end to serve and have you do the least amount of work. Same thing if I send off, finished tracks for a project or I'm tracking remote over Dropbox. My goal isn't to send off 20 tracks and have an engineer or producer have to work their tail off to make my stuff sound good. It should sound good within the context of the song, Now obviously there's things come up and, hey, can you tweak this? Again, that whole open feedback cycle. But if I can do something on my end, to really make their experience better, I'm gonna do that. So for me, it's like, I am EQing like my reverb, right? I'm EQing my whole signal, I'm EQing my low end. My tone tools are locked. Like things that I know an engineer is probably gonna have to do to my guitar already. I'm not just gonna say, well, it sounds good at home, like you fix it, right? It's like part of what I'm owning. If you push my faders up, it's gonna be good stuff. And there's a lot that goes into that, whether it's practice, prep time, knowing your tones, knowing your parts. Just something to think about there. Serving the mix, finding common ground. I think there's nothing more frustrating than trying to play a style of music or doing something that's like not maybe the musical vision of the house or the musical vision of, the context of the church. And that's looked a lot of different ways throughout my life, but try to find like the common ground between you as an instrumentalist, you as your leader, and then, hey, what is our sound we're going for? What are we, when I'm recording on a project or working with we have different front of house guys, it could be a lot of different people in this equation. But, it's like, how do you approach mixing electric guitars? And then how can I do my best to help serve that,